Hello, fellow beer travelers. Welcome to another road podcast. We need to fix a name for this.
Brewers on tour. Join Jamal and I as we embark on a 1,000-mile epic tour of Great British Brewing. We'll be visiting traditional breweries the length and breadth of the UK, from Lewes on the south coast to the hills of North Yorkshire. We'll be visiting traditional tower breweries, and we'll see steam engines, belts, and even a water wheel. We'll meet brewing royalty.
The top and bottom of it all is that there is no finer long alcoholic drink in the world than English cask conditioned beer.
And learn from their experience, and we'll even meet the owner of Otter Malt.
Otter right over here, Tipple right over there.
As well as brewing celebrities. We'll sniff more hops as we go round, and we'll see more open fermentation than you can ever believe.
I think that is exactly what it tastes like when I was a child. And
well, you have to come here.
We'll meet more characters.
Grab it, put it on there. Now everything in the brewery will be working.
We'll see more machinery. Whilst Jamal drinks his way around the tasting rooms, I'll have to do the driving in the day at least and put up with the water.
That's for the driver. He wanted a pale ale. There you go.
Good morning, frothers, and welcome back to Wheatlow Brewery for another exciting brew day. And today we're going to be visiting a small brewery in the Cotswolds just inside Gloucestershire called Donnington Brewery. And those of you who might have the Wheeler book, Brew Your Own British Real Ale, at home, may know that there's a couple of recipes in there actually for Donington beers. But we're actually going to brew a different one called Donnington Gold, bit of American hopping mixed with English hopping in there, and a golden sort of 4% ale. But the real treat is we're going to go down now, research this brewery, research this beer, visit this brewery in the middle of the Cotswolds. And this brewery is unique because all the kinetic energy in the brewery comes from a water wheel. So that's your pumps, lifting of the malt sacks to the top floor, and then the brewery uses gravity. It does use steam power now for heat, but it's still got the old coal fireplaces under the copper. So let's go and have a tour around now with Phil, who's been there for 46 years. And we're going to see the water wheel thrashing. We're going to see the winch being powered by it, the pumps being powered by it, hundreds of years of old equipment, and look into the history of this gem of rural brewing heritage. I'm going around the brewery with Jamal from Beer School Brazil again, part of our 1,000-mile beer tour of Great Britain that we did recently. Buckle up for this quick tour of the brewery, and then we're going to try and emulate one of their beautiful beers. We're here at Donington Brewery to have a little tour up a traditional Cascade brewery, and we're going to have a tour in a minute with Phil and see what it's all about.
Do I get paid for this?
Spot, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I've been here 46 years now. I'm in the 47th year now. Wow. I was only born 2 fields away, and I'm never a field away now, so I haven't gone far. Right, the brewery. It's been a brewery in the same family since 1865. The Arkle family. The mill itself, that building there, dates back to 1291. That was the mill, and that was the mill house. Back in 1843, they found that the water was pure enough to make beer with, spring water. We use 2 water wheels, we still use them, and the lake water drives the water wheels. We don't use the lake water for making the beer. I know a lot of local people say we do sometimes, but it's not true. We actually got a borehole the other side of the lake over there, which is a spring, and it's piped all the way around up into a header tank upstairs. It's checked every month, basically. Make sure it's clean, whatever, when that's okay. And that's what makes our beer quite unique, is we use spring water, we don't have to treat it. So, like I say, that's what makes it unique. Back in 1843, they found out that it was clean enough to make the beer with. So basically, the mill house and the mill, they built the brewery in between the two buildings. Those days, there apparently was 72 people worked here on the land. They had 4,000 acres of land all around. They had coopers, wheelwrights, blacksmiths, and all the people who worked on the land. And they basically grew their own corn those days, so they had 4,000 acres of land. They grew their own corn, they malted their own corn up in the malt house up there, and then they brought it through into the mill, and they milled their own corn there, and lifted it up into the brewery, and made beer with their own corn.
So they malted it on site then?
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, quite unique that is. Again, I shouldn't take you up there, but there's only two of you. If you want to have a look a bit later on, I'll pop it on, but don't put on.
You water from the borehole then, is it hard water around?
Oh yeah, very hard, yeah. I'll show you the outside wheel if you want to come and have a look. Claude Arkle and his wife lived over there, but they didn't have any children. And so when Claude, in his 90s, when he died, and his wife died before that, the nearest relative to Claude was Peter Arkle from the Arkle's Brewery at Swindon, Kingstown Brewery. He was second cousin to Claude. So basically, Peter Arkle and James's son inherited all of Donnington Brewery, which was 14 public houses, the brewery, and 400 acres of land all around here. Peter Arkle then died. A bit later on he died, so it was James's sole concern, James himself. Anyway, his son Johnny came out of the army, who is now run by James and Johnny Arkle. Johnny got married, he's got 3 kids, I think, down the road here, and so hopefully it'll be in the same family for another 160 odd years. Yeah, when Claude died back in 2007, I took on the brewing then, 2007, and this year I'm sort of semi-now retired. The other lad and Johnny is doing the brewing now, but I still come in and out every now and again. I say we've got 2 water wheels. This is one obviously on the outside. This is what they call 3/4 shot breast wheel, means the water comes 3/4 way up the breast. You do get ones that are undershot where the water goes underneath, and I believe the Isle of Man and Anglesey in Wales have got one that's overshot.
Wow. Is it wooden?
No, originally they were wood, but when the iron foundries and stuff started making like the bridges and stuff, they converted it into made a metal. You see they build up a lime scale on it, that's called tufa. And basically we have to scratch that off every year, because what happens is it fills the buckets up and the water won't drive the wheel round.
So it's lime scale?
It's lime scale, yeah.
So it is really hard water around it?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's inside, the beer pipes, the water pipes, eventually they close up like a little pinhole. You have to renew all the pipes.
Because of the carbonates?
Yeah, for the calcium.
Temporary hardness.
Yeah.
It's all spring water, well, and rainwater now obviously, but there's hundreds of little springs bubbling away under there that feeds it, and in the banks there's a lot of springs that come running out the bank. This is the head of the River Dickler. The River Dickler flows down through here to Upper Swell, then down to Lower Swell, and it goes underneath the Foss Way and joins the River Wimrush down at the bottom of the water. That will drive everything in the brewery if the one inside breaks down, which we use all the time.
Right, okay.
We can actually connect onto that one to drive it. I'll take the show you again.
So you divert water through here then? Or?
Yeah, we open the sluice up there, that pushes the water onto the wheel, drives it round. What I'd done years ago was, once they've malted the barley, they would bring it into here, tip it into these hoppers there and there, because inside those wooden tubs or whatever, that's where the millstones are.
Right.
So they'll go through the milling stones, downstairs they would bag it up, then they'll come up through the floor there, look, go straight up through, up above you, up there, look, into the gods, into the brewery, and that's where they would brew it. I'll take you down, mind your head as you come down, because there's a bar comes across and it not good. That shaft there is the centre of the wheel outside. We're actually below lake level in here. So what they would do is they would stop this wheel, then they would engage the mill wheels by winding those 2 cogs down into this wheel, by winding it down. That would engage the millstones upstairs. They would get the wheel going, which is driving the millstones. You would stand there, bag it up there. I would stand here and bag it up here. And once the bag was full, they take it to the middle of the floor there, and that's when they lift it up into the brewery, into the gods. What they would do to start the wheel up, they would just open this up. This would start the wheel going.
Oh, it's is that just opened the sluice gate then?
Sorry?
What have you just done with that then? Opened the
Like
sluice gate?
sluice gate outside, I've just opened it up.
So it's pretty instantaneous, isn't it?
But because it's got a lot of limescale on it, I would go a lot faster usually. But because the buckets are full of limescale, we've got to scrape them out. It's those teeth on that beveled wheel there, they're all made of wood.
Yeah, it's a sacrificial one.
Yeah, basically. They're made of wood, hornbeam, because if it was metal to metal and it went out sink, it would shatter it because it's cast iron.
Yeah.
So 1 or 2 teeth would break off. You put your problem right, knock some new teeth in away, and away you go. The other reason for it would be the friction, heat, risk of fire. If that wheel inside breaks down, there's a big dog clutch here. That just slides in, locks together. That would drive the whole shaft right through to the brewery. This dog clutch here, look, slides into the joys that way.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that would then drive, the wheel outside would be driving everything in the brewery. We had some safety come down here a few weeks ago and we've had to put guards around everything, you know, that made it worse. Fortunately, they didn't come in here because when I'm brewing, every morning I have to come in here to get the machinery working.
Yeah.
And to do that, I have to come in here, grab hold of this belt, grab it, put it on there. Now everything in the brewery will be working. I've still got all my fingers. Now everything in the brewery will be working. What we call the underback.
Okay.
All it is a collecting vessel really. Because up above us is the mash tun. That's where it all happens, in the mash tun upstairs. So once we mashed and then sparged and the mash tun is full, the wort has risen and the malt's risen up, I come down here, open this valve up, releases all the wort into here. From here I go get the pump going upstairs, driven by the water wheel, and then that pumps from here up into the copper upstairs.
Okay.
On your head, I'm all right. As you can see, we've had to put sea guards on everything, but I can say made it worse. Because now, when I connect the belt, all I used to do is loop the belt, because it loops onto this wheel here. This drives the auger inside there, which releases all the mash into the mash tun. So you connect from there to drive it. Now to do it, we have to get a ladder, step ladder, open the both doors, weasel the belt on, which is awkward. You see how easy it was to put the belt on in the mill?
Yeah.
That's what I used to do. Get here, get a broom handle, whip it on and away we go. That door there went through to the old man's bedroom years ago. He would come out at 3 o'clock in the morning and get the fires stoked up so they could brew. Those days it used to take 2 days to do a brew because they couldn't get the intense heat in the copper, which we can now. Now we have an oil-fired boiler which gives us steam and a lot more controllable. So it takes about 7 hours to do a brew. He would come out, in there was a coal fire, because above it is a copper, and in there is a coal fire, above that there's a copper. It used to take ages to get it going. But now it's steam a lot easier. That's that. So the main ingredients, as you know, is our spring water and the malt. The malt is Maris Otter, which is this one. This is what we call pale malt. Have you ever tasted it?
Yeah.
You have to. You don't want to taste it.
It's fine, no.
That's a pale one, and that's a crystal, a bit darker. What we do is get all the malt here for the brew, the amount of bags we need. Then we take them upstairs with the power of the water wheel, put them through the grinder into this hopper here. This hopper collects all the malt. This is where we only want it cracked. We don't want it like flour, like a baker, because we don't get any goodness out of it. It goes all gloopy. So we just want a grain of malt cracked a little bit. The copper there heats up for the mashing. From there we connect a pipe to it. Over there, that lever. I open that lever up to release the water or work into the mash. That drives, open that slide up there to release the malt out of here into the mash tun, which is here. This is a mash tun. We'll have a look inside. Lime scale. Hard water. Once we mashed, we then switch it all off, fill the copper up again to another heat for sparging. The sparging's slightly hotter than the mash. The sparging, once that's to the right temperature, we then connect the sparge pipes underneath here. These are the sparge pipes. They've got two sets of holes, those little holes there. They connect onto a rod that goes under here. I'll show you. Connect a hose from the copper to this, put the two pipes on under there. They then spin round like that, dribbling the hot water wort on top of the barley, and the barley will rise, the malt will rise, I should call it, in the mash tun.
Yeah.
Up to about here. That's when I go downstairs, get the wheel going, come back upstairs, grease the pump up over there, and that pumps from the underback up into the copper.
Yeah.
Okay?
And what's your brew length then? How much do you brew in one brew?
About 650 gallons, I think it's 3,000 litres.
Yeah.
3,000 litres.
It's 650 gallons, I think. This is a heartbeat of the brewery. As long as you can hear this going, everything's okay. If this stops, we're in trouble. But basically, I grease it all up, which I've done earlier on, because I had a tour earlier on. Grease it all up and set it going. This, as I say, is a heartbeat of the brewery. All I do is pull this bar across. You start pumping. It will change noise in a minute because it's priming itself. Now it's pumping. As long as you can hear that for about an hour, hour and a quarter, everything's okay. That goes off. It's okay. That's okay. If it goes quiet, bad.
So that's filling the cold liquor tank on that.
Oh yeah, that's the copper. It would have been hot in that. Yeah. From there we go upstairs. Again, on your head. And this would have been driven by the water wheel. The bolts used to come up from out through the floor off that big wheel up here to drive this. You had to climb through the bolts to get it going. Health and safety, can't do that. Got to put an electric motor on it. So what we do now is an electric motor. Yeah, what we do now is get the malt up here. We tip it into that little vessel there, or up into here. Then it goes through the rollers down into that big hopper above the mash tun. To get it up here, this is a jockey wheel, doing nothing at the minute because the belt's not tight. Put some pressure on the belt like this, and then that's it. Over to here. Get in there. Yeah. That's how we get it up. This is the copper.
That is nice. Internal candelabra.
Pump the ale up into here, the wort. That's just a bit of steam, warming the water up underneath.
It's not easy to clean though, is it? How do you clean it? Get in it?
Yeah, we get in and
That's what your ladder's for.
Yeah. After mash tun's cleaned, everything's clean. After we brew, everything's clean straight away. Basically, we fill it with the wort up to that rivet.
Yeah.
Fill it to there. We get the boil going, so it's a good boil going. Inside that vessel there's 9 steam pipes. That pushes the beer up here, hits this top hat, gets a good circulation, rolling boil going. Boils for about an hour, hour and a quarter. And then all the steam goes up through the louvers, out through there. And then once it's boiled, we then go downstairs to release it into the hop back where we mix the hops with it.
That is a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Since I've been brewing, I've had the fire engine out 4 times. The people have gone past the brewery, said the brewer's on fire, all the steam going out. Yeah. They used to love coming because the old man used to let the firemen throw the roses in the lake, have a bit of a play, and when they'd done that, he'd go in the off license lads and have a beer. They used to come in the cellar and have a few beers. This is a liquor tank. This will be filled up with water for next week's brew.
Yeah.
Fill it right up. We use about half of it for the mash, and then fill it back up again for the sparging, and then that's the amount we use for the brew, about 650 gallons. Get it right, it's 5,184 points. Only a little bit, yeah, to give it the bitterness. This is where the main of the hops come into here. We use pellet form hops now, each under the flowers, big bushels. We use, in the Gold, we use American Cascade, English Goldings and Silea, which is a Slovakian malt. We put them in here, usually around about dinner time, release all the wort out of the copper. The hops float to the top, usually about an hour I pop home, do the dog some quick sandwich, float to the top in about an hour, and then we start extracting below to cool it down, and they sink to the bottom. They act as a natural filter on these plates for the cooling down process.
So just leaf hops in here then?
Sorry?
Leaf hops in here?
Pellets, yeah, we use pellets. We don't use leaf ones anymore, they're messy. And all the pumps, they filters on it and block them up too quick.
And it doesn't go through those filters?
No, they end up like a paste. Have you seen them, the hops, pellets? You shouldn't pellet with hops, yeah.
T90s.
Yeah, got some there. Release the wort. What we do to release the wort, we come across here, open this valve up, up with there. This fills right to the very top. That's the highest corner there. It fills right to the very top where your elbow is, and then goes down through the cooler. Because we only make relatively small brews, we can do special brews. We did one for the King's Coronation Ale. Cheltenham Race Week, we did one called On the Nose, for just special for the race week. The gaffer's son got married a few years ago. We did one for him called Life Sentence. He thought it was funny, but she wasn't very amused. Yeah, so we can play around doing little brews, basically. Right, from here, we then go downstairs again. Obviously, the mash tuns, well, we've taken all the wort off of it, because the first runnings off is very sweet, very strong. But then as it goes through, washes all the goodness out of it, it gets weaker and weaker and weaker. Well, years ago, the last few barrels out of it, the last bit of the wort, they used to bottle it for the children. It's called table beer, or table wine. It was safer to drink that because it'd been boiled than the ditch water they were drinking. That's what they used to do.
So without fermenting it, just bottle it up? Just bottle it without fermenting?
Yeah, it was just very weak water, basically. Sweet water. We're getting the mash tun, we open the door at the back of it, shove it all out, the grains out into a trailer. It would have been horse and cart years ago, but now it's taken the trailer up to the sheep and cattle. They eat it, the local farmer. Right, from there we go downstairs again. This stage is critical because you have to keep the temperature bang on. Too hot, you kill the yeast when you put the yeast with it. Too cold, it slow it down and possibly kill it as well. So it wants to be around 59 to 60 degrees all the time. Because we only have one water supply, if somebody flushes the loo or puts a hose pipe on, the temperature will creep up. So you have to watch it all the time.
So do you use this cool ship thing then as well?
Yeah, we pipe it from there down into here.
Yeah.
It pumps through there, and pumps through into the fermenting room.
So you like to keep this traditional bit then?
Oh yeah. You can see what's going on.
Yeah.
You can see if the hops are coming through, and you take sample here. Cold breaks and
It gives
hot
you
breaks.
any debris chance to settle again before it gets stuck.
Yeah. We got a filter thing goes in there as well.
Okay,
That's what that's for.
yeah.
It's better to look at that than just a machine, isn't it?
So what's in there now? Sanitizer?
Just water.
Just water.
Yeah, spring water.
So I suppose you don't sanitise that because it's hot side, isn't it?
Yeah, no, we don't use any chemicals because the copper would be quite absorbent. It would taint the beer. So basically, it's elbow grease and strong water, hot water. Yeah, we boil it up, just there. Boil it up, get it hot, pump it through.
That's a steam line, is it?
Yeah. From there, it's put through into the fermenting room, which is here.
So this is the fermentation room. Can I go?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for that.
Just completely open then, no lids at all.
No, no.
When does this fermentation start?
It starts when we put the wort into here, we put the yeast with it, the yeast starts working. One cell of yeast will multiply 7 times. And when it does that, it starts to grow and cause heat. So it gets pumped into here where we take the original gravity and samples from it. Stops in there overnight, and then it's pumped into one of these vessels where it stops for a week. This one we brewed on Tuesday, and the yeast has worked at the liquor level. The liquor level is about down here. The yeast grows and grows and grows and grows. It grows right up to here. When it's at its peak, we take samples again to find what gravity it is, and we skim it off, skim the excess yeast off, put a cooler on, which is only the spring water from the taps. There's two round pipes inside these vessels. The water runs through that, cools it down. Because it would go from 25 degrees, it'd be quite warm, to around about 13 now. If you want to have a look in one of them, you'll see the pipes. That's an empty one with the water pipes running around the outside.
So what's the purpose of putting it in that vessel first then? I see you've got an agitator then.
Yes, where we mix the yeast with
Is
it.
it to aerate it then?
Yeah. This is where the customs and excise used to come and dip it every brew. There's measure marks there, and they would come out every brew and dip it and test it, and you have to pay tax on it. We get tax now when what goes out the gate, not me brewing actually. Skim the excess yeast off, and then we put it in the fridge, keep it cool. That's our yeast. That'll be used next week in next week's brew.
So how many generations can you use it for them?
Well, when I first started brewing, back in 2007, the gaffer then came and said, how long you had that yeast, Phil? It's got to be 3 years at least. He said, no, you've got to change it. You must change it. My argument was, if it's working all right, why change it? But he said, no, you must change it. So now really we change it every 3 months. We go to Hook Norton, get this fresh strain from them, because they cultivate their own yeast there.
Yeah.
They change theirs every 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But we keep ours for about 3 months, and then we go and change it. But if I leave this out for about half an hour, that'll be all over the floor.
Yeah.
It grows that quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heat it makes it go. Hence we keep it in the fridge.
So it's a really sort of active yeast, is it? Fast,
Oh, yeah.
Fast fermentation then?
Usually when we get it new, first generation, it's a bit slower, but as it gets used to our beer, it gets quicker and quicker basically. That one hasn't risen very high because he changed this a few weeks ago. That one hasn't worked that well, but it will get more and more basically.
So how full of liquid is that bucket then?
Sorry?
Is that about half full of liquid then?
No, it's all yeast.
It's all
That'll beat down to about there.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, this was frothy up.
Incredible. It's a massive krausen on it then, isn't it?
Yeah.
The liquid's down there. I'll never get tired of that smell, really.
Okay. And there we go downstairs again. Years ago, we used to bottle our own beer here. We used to have a big bottling plant there with like a big square tank. And when the new gaffer took over, he said we've got to get rid of that, it's obsolete really. Well, I think we bought it second hand in 1953. So what we do now is we fill a 1,000 litre IBC tank, take it to the Swindon Brewery, who's got a warehouse with all their bottling plant in it, and they bottle it for us. But like I say, we used to bottle our own, put 8 bottles on the back, it would come up through belt driven, pre-wash, caustic soda, and pre-wash again. And then the end of the line was just here. I don't know why he kept it, maybe because it was stainless. This reservoir there would fill up with beer. That would rotate round, compressed air would push the bottles up, fill them up, drop back onto a chain here, come through here. That was the crowner. The crowner would go up and down, put a crown on the bottle, they go on through, put a label on it. There was belts and pulleys everywhere, ducking doors down with big old cooler and everything. But before that, many years ago, they used to have bottled beer, it was all screw tops. And the bottles would come back, they had to wash them out by hand, keep the screw tops, take a jug of beer out of that beer vessel that you saw upstairs, fill it up, and that was that. Some of the bottles we had were embossed with Donnington Brewery on it, the other ones they had to stick labels on it. And nobody liked doing that job because it was messy, sticking the labels on. So the gaffer them days found out there was a thing called a labelling machine. So he looked into it and he found one, so he bought it. But everybody wanted to use it because you didn't get messy. I'll show it you. Might just fall over. This was a new all-state, all singing labelling machine. Basically, you put your labels in there. You had a belt connected which would drive that. The glue pot was in there, that would rotate the glue so it didn't seize. The operator would stand here. You would pass me a bottle, I would put it there. To engage it, you have to stand on that. That would engage this wheel, which was driven by a water wheel again. That would go like this. That would go up. Take a label on there, come down like that, plunk. Push the label down with the rubber pads. I would then pass that to you. You would then put it in the case, and away it went. Yeah. Funny enough, I was showing somebody around a few weeks ago, and he said, "Good Lord," he said, "my missus used to use the exact same machine." Yeah, whoever made it, they make a name on it somewhere. He said, "Yeah."
World Labeler Junior.
Yeah, they used to bottle, label honey pots from a beehive. They used to do that. That label, if anybody texts beer labels, is quite rare.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you can read the small print. Bottled by Donnington Brewery, still on the world.
You bottle Guinness?
We bottled Guinness. Park Royal didn't have a bottling plant, but they found out we was one of the first brewers to have a bottling plant. So they bought tankers of Guinness up, parked out in the yard. We would pipe it through onto that vessel there, bottle it, label it, and then we would take it away again. That's the old bellows from the forge where the blacksmith farrier, wheelwrights and everybody used. Years ago, these were the manual pumps, water pumps. They would be going 24/7, all on a crankshaft, so they all pushed independently to keep the header tank full. Inside these cylinders is the pistons. Well, the pistons were made of leather. And after about a month, 5 weeks, they would wear out because our water's so hard, friction, they would wear out and they would leak. So the water pressure wouldn't go upstairs. Hence now we have to put the electric pump on to give us a continual supply of water.
And this is what you call the small water?
This is small water, yeah. I believe this one's 18 horsepower, where the other one's 25. 28, sorry. This one, a few years ago, was making a horrible noise. It was screeching and things. You could hear it all through the brewery. It was horrible. So we stopped it. We checked all the pins, checked all the bearings. But yeah, everything's fine. We started it up again. It was still moaning, groaning. Shit, what's wrong? So we stopped it again, and you'll notice there isn't the build-up of limescale like the one outside. The reason for that is there's no sunlight.
Yeah.
But we stopped it and we chipped off about 3 tons of that. That solid limescale, tufa. You touch it. You couldn't see these nuts and bolts. You couldn't see those nuts and bolts. That was all covered in tufa.
There's a fair bit on it now.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, we'll just check out
It's never been done. Not since 1865. We took off 3 tons. We had to get in there with 2 mattresses, knock it. It took us about 10 days. It was a horrible job because we had to shovel it all out through there. There was great lumps of it was falling off. Set it going again. Lovely quiet. Been going well ever since. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to shoot upstairs. You'll stop here. I'll get the wheel going for you so you see the speed it works when it's working. Yeah? Okay. All I'm going to do is open the sluice gate up, okay?
Some thrash, that wasn't it? Yeah, you wouldn't want to fall in there, would you? Oh, that is power, isn't it? Cellar.
Final process in the cellar.
Very good.
Basically, after a week, it's been in the vessels. That's the one with the beer in. We connect the dispenser onto the bottom of it. We put a keystone in the end of the barrel, put some finings in, put the dispenser in it, fill the barrel up. Foam comes out the dispenser into a watering can, basically a stainless steel beer can. Foam comes out. When the beer starts running out, we know the barrel's full. Put a shive in it, seal it, then sack it away, ready to go to our pubs.
Got quite a lot of pins then.
They're more popular now. When I first started back in 1980, it was all those. Kildekins, yeah. Now, pubs are a lot quieter now, because we used to do 7 times a week years ago. Twice on a Tuesday and twice on a Thursday. Pubs are a lot quieter now, they're not selling so much beer, they can seal usually it's a lot quicker.
Yeah.
You get an 18 and open it, it'll go off in a week, but with these they can seal them off and use them a lot quicker, hence they're more and more popular now. Anyway, we're in the cellar. Do you fancy a drink while you're here?
Why not?
As much as I can.
Why not? Just an inch from me because I'm the driver.
Yeah, he's the
You're the
driver.
driver. You can have a pale ale if you want.
Pardon?
You can have a pale ale if you want.
Yeah, whatever, don't mind.
This is BB, that's 3.6. Was our most popular. That's the gold, that's 4%. And that's the on the nose special that we did for Cheltenham Race Week. And that's for the driver, he wanted a pale ale. There you go.
Essa cerveja que o Richard vai tomar porque ele está dirigindo.
Well, I deserve that. Ask for a pale ale.
Thank you so much for coming with me because
That is pure
in that
spring
case it would
water.
be me drinking water.
That is
I
pure
must say,
spring water
the
from the
water's
borehole.
delicious.
Spring water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tastes different than your water back home, I bet.
Ele falou que essa água aqui era especial, que é a água da nascente. Eu vou querer provar. Can I try the spring
Yeah.
water? Eu vou tomar água também, né?
It's the strangest tour you've ever done when everyone's queuing up for water.
There you go.
cheia de pedra, né? Como vocês viram.
So you must have to add some salts to the water then to try and soften it up, and just add nothing.
Nothing, just boil it.
Okay, and that removes the temporary hardness then, boiling it, I suppose, doesn't it?
It doesn't not really, it's just line the water. I actually take it home because the water at home, we're on the mains.
Yeah.
You make a cup of tea, you end up with a brown scum on your cups.
Yeah.
Take that home, you don't get any scum at all. Tastes different altogether. This is our most popular now. I'm going to try that.
Brilliant. Cheers.
Can I have one, please?
There you go.
Really.
Wait.
And the gravity pour, that's the
4%.
proper. I mean, pouring it like that rather than through a pump, that's the proper old way, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be a lot frothier in the pubs because it comes through a beer pump with a sparkler. But now we can't get ahead because it's coming straight from the barrel, basically. Cheers.
Cheers. That's delicious. So is that just 100% Maris Otter then?
Yeah.
And which hops?
Not 100%, no. We use 2 bags of Carapils. But the rest of it is Maris Otter.
And which hops is in this one?
That's got Cascade in. Cascade, Soleil and Goldings.
Cascade and what? And Goldings?
And Soleil.
Goldings, English Goldings, Cascade American and Soleil.
Cascade. I would never guess.
The American Cascade, it's got a citrusy taste. That's what the citrusy taste is in it, the bite.
Yeah.
Do you want to chug it or drink it? Down the drain.
Which one is this?
On the nose. Made specially for Cheltenham Race Week. There you go.
So I suppose you have to do a bit of quality control every evening, do you?
You have to keep yourself employed.
You do.
What's your problem?
You can't let it go out the door unchecked, can you?
Well, I normally drink, so I'll have a pint. That's about a pint, about a pint. It's double in price the last lot we had was 610.
The beer that we're going to brew is called Gold, Donnington Gold. It's 4%, it's a golden ale. It's Maris Otter with a bit of Carapils, so 84% Maris Otter, 10.5% Carapils, and we're also going to use a little bit of invert number 2 sugar. More about that in a bit. 5.5% of the malt bill, if you like, comes from that sugar. We're going to mash it at normal ale sort of temperature, 66.5. And we're going to then boil it with all the hops at the beginning. So we've got Cascade, Soleil and East Kent Goldings all at the beginning. Some 44 IBUs. I'm not quite sure if that's the official figure they go for, but I have scaled down the quantities that they use, so it just depends on the alphas of their particular hops. And water profile. Now, you saw from that footage the amazing way that limescale, even in cold water, is sticking to the mill wheel. At the water, although it's beautiful, it's fresh, it's coming clean from the ground, literally bubbling up in the mill pond behind, is beautiful water, but it's very rich in minerals, I think. I haven't gone that rich in minerals, but I have gone high in the carbonates. More about that in a bit. Yeah, and of course, because this brewery is near to Hook Norton, and we visited this brewery on the same day, actually, as Hook Norton, and because the brewery is small and it's so near to Hook Norton, they do actually get their yeast from Hook Norton. This is absolutely ideal, since I have Hook Norton's yeast. So I'm going to pitch a freshly skimmed yeast pitch that I skimmed literally this morning off a hooky that we're brewing of the Hook Norton fame. And we're going to pitch that yeast fresh in there and again do open fermentation, because we're really doing the trad beers in this series. So let's crack on, let's mash in, get the show on the road, and as usual, of course, we'll be back at the end of the video to taste the beer and see how the froth goes down. So stick with us, frothers. We're going to mash in and get this show on the road. Super. Now then, frothers, I've been going around all these traditional breweries with Jamal, and I've been trying to do recipes before today as well for traditional beers. And if you've got the Graham Wheeler book, you'll be familiar with the call for old-fashioned sugars. And a lot of these traditional breweries use invert sugar number 2. And I've been fed up of not being able to get this, so I've taken matters into my own over-the-top hands, and I bought myself a 25 kilo block of invert sugar number 2. This is something available for commercial brewers, but not in homebrew sizes. Why not? Well, because it's not very easy for someone like the malt mill, let's say, or your local shop, to repack a 25 kilo solid block of sugar. But that hasn't stopped me getting one, and now I've got to work out how to break it up, because for this recipe I need 1.2 kilos of invert sugar number 2. Now, if you've got more common sense than me, what you will do is you will make your own invert sugar number 2, which you can do by either heating up sugar with some acid and for a certain temperature for a certain time to get the necessary darkness. You can look this technique up on the internet. There's videos about it and so on. Or if you want a cheaty way, you can get some golden syrup, which is more or less invert sugar, and you can add some black treacle or molasses or blackstrap, I think is other words for it around the world. And this will give you the necessary colour. And again, there are calculators available online where you can work out how much black treacle to add to your golden syrup to give you, I think invert number 2 is, off the top of my head, about 60 EBC, something like that. So that would be the easier way, frothers. But now I've got myself a 25 kilo block here, this here sugar. So I've got to work out how to get that into smaller portions. Now I've got 2 ideas. Number 1 is stick it in a saucepan with a bit of water, turn it into a liquid, split it up, and possibly let it set again. Number 2 is I wonder if I can cut this up with a hot knife. So I'm going to try that first because that sounds more dangerous. So I think it does really fill that box. My first step is to work out how much this block measures, and therefore to work out how big a block I need to cut off it to get 1.2 kilos, which is what I need today. So that's 30 centimetres by 22 by, let's say, 26. Right, so I'm going to try and work that out now. I'll be back in a minute. Doesn't want to come out of the box, that's for sure. All right. I expect it's not going to want to come out the bag either, is it? There it is. Better have a taste, don't we? Tastes like sugar. A bit like brown sugar or muscovado sugar or something. My calculation was worked out that if I cut off 1.45 centimetres off the length, if it was a perfect square, that would be the right amount. I'm obviously just going to have to wing it, aren't I? And put the offcuts onto some scales, so I'll go and get a knife. Right, so got a reasonably big knife, just about long enough, and rather than trying to cut 1.45 centimetres, I'm going to halve the height, and then I'm going to do 3 centimetres, so that's about 25, so just over 12 and a half. Now my theory is, I heat this up a bit, being careful, because I don't think it's very good for the temper of steel, is it, to heat it up too much. But maybe that will go in a bit easier. Not really. Okay, not too bad. And then 3 centimetres. Mark it. Highly scientific approach, this. It's like the texture of quite firm fudge. Right, that wasn't as bad as I thought. Let's get something to weigh it in. Right. Mash is finished. Oh, the scales only goes up to 1 kilo. Damn. Right. We've got another jug the same, so that is 813 grams. Plus 220 is 1,033. And there's still a bit that I didn't really cut off properly, look. Right, that's perfect. So, actually that wasn't, apart from my dental health, that wasn't too bad, was it? So there we are. I've got my invert sugar number 2 for this brew, all measured out. Put it into one jug so I can use the other to measure the hops. And I'm hoping we get something from this flavour that will enhance this beer. So that sounds super to me, frothers. And you might well ask, well, what does a commercial brewery do when they want to measure that out and apportion it to the brew? Well, the answer is they use whole blocks only. They chuck them in the boil, 25 kilo block, and that is actually why many kettles and older equipment look a bit battered, because they've had those blocks chucked in over the years. So they don't mess about like that, trying to weigh it out. The other thing I've thought about this is that if you've watched my Bass video, which was one of my very earliest ones, I really wanted a liquid sugar for that, and I ended up just using malt extract, which was a bit of a cop out. So I'm looking forward to trying Bass again using this invert sugar number 2, because I think that might be the final missing piece of the jigsaw for that. So whenever we're brewers, and we do like to tinker, don't we, and go back to recipes and try them again to really hone them in. So that's what I want to do with that Bass, to have another go at that. And no shortage of neighbours that will want to drink that, I'm sure. So I need some Cascade, some Solea and some EKG. When I got the very, very rough recipe by just chatting to the brewers when we were debriefing at Donington, they just sort of said how many hops they put in, and I've scaled it down. So I don't know what alpha their hops were, so I may as well just go with the flow, and I don't normally mind it if it's a bit more bitter. So 200 grams as it is. Also helps that I haven't got a bottle of this, and to be honest, I can't fully remember what it tastes like from 1 inch that I had because I was driving in the cellar. So we'll just have to sort of make sure it's a nice beer anyway and go with that. Now EKG, a little less. All these hops are at the start of the boil, by the way. Okay, so the hops on this beer, and we've got Cascade 21.7 IBUs, Solea 17.8 IBUs, and then a bit of East Kent Goldings 6.9 IBUs, and that comes to 46 IBUs, so quite a hoppy beer. Yep, there we go, hops, got my sugar, got my protoflock, all set to get the boil going, but first of all I need to do the sparge. Right, almost forgot to put a bit of yeast nutrient in because we're dealing with liquid repitched yeast. Definitely need to get that in, so I'm going to put 2 grams of this in. Gone really well. I'm ready to pitch the yeast. I've put a little bit of water in the yeast at the start of the transfer to just sort of rouse it a bit with a bit of fresh wort, and now I'm going to pour it in. Super. So I'm going to leave the little 4-inch lid off for now, but once I see that it's got going, take the whole lid off again, just have it open, because that's the way forwards with these, or the way backwards if you like, to tradition. Right, yeast harvesting this hooky. It's on 10:11, so there's only a point or 2 left to go, and or maybe 3 points. I've got here, I've learned my lesson about a bucket size for this job, so I've got this 5-gallon bucket that's been in sanitizer. Empty that out. Scoopy, scoopy, scoopy. Just rinse the jug off so we don't waste any. Help it finish off. Right, super, so that should be enough to pitch into the next beer. It's up to 10 litres, but it's mostly froth. So as long as I've got a good litre of actual solids, then, or solid thick sludge, then that should be enough. Well, it's a litre per hectolitre, so a bit more than a litre. So I'll pop this in the cold room till the next beer. Right, it's time to do a bit of casking. I've got the hooky ready to cask, and I've also got my Donnington Gold ready to cask. So I've been washing or sanitising all these casks here and these, and I've just got this last couple to do, so stick them on. So the beer's fermented really well, quite quickly, just about 4 days, maybe 5 days for the Hookie's been in a bit longer, but I've cooled them both down to 8 degrees now, which seems to be roughly where the traditional breweries are cooling it down to between 8 and 12. Donington cool it with spring water, so that's probably about 11 degrees, something like that. The open fermentation's been amazing. I've harvested the yeast again from the Donington, ready for the next one. When I might try and rebrew Old Hookie, just tweak the recipe a little bit. But let's get these into cask anyway. So I'm going to put each batch into 2 9s and 2 pins as well, give me a bit of flexibility on how and when I serve it. If I just want a little pin, I can put that on, or if I want to put a 9 on, I can do. I've put the cask here on the scales, so I can keep an eye on the fill level by just seeing the weight. I've zeroed it with the empty cask on. Now where's mine? Right, so I've got some pipe. Just switch. Right, that's been cool for 2 couple days now. It's actually almost clear. I'm just going to find the course, so I'll get those now. Right, so I've got, well, roughly 250 ml and a little one to measure it out. I need 28 ml of this Super F for a 9. Kilos. Just to get some of course. And we've got a bit of froth going on there with the sanitizer, but somewhere in there is the pin. There we go. Froth pinner, froth pinner. That's all fine. You're finding this. Right, a little bit in here. So, that's what it's like now. That's what it's like now. I'm just going to down the fines. Just check fines are working happy. Right, having just cast those casks of ale, the cellar, I've had to get everything out and rearrange it because it's looking pretty full. Have a look at this. So pretty full cellar. Doesn't help when your neighbours join the temperance movement, does it? But no doubt we'll battle our way through it, no problem. Roz has suggested that I ease off brewing for a while. I didn't really just quite understand what she was getting at, but I am running out of containers, so we either need to drink some or we need to drink some of this frothing ale. Right, here's the Donnington Gold. Beautiful and clear and bright. Lovely creamy head that's sticking around. I poured this a while ago before I filmed it and everything. And it's got a slight sort of citrusy aroma, more grapefruity really, and lemon. Mouthfeel is smooth and medium bodied, and the creamy head really helps when you drink it through it. It is what you might think of as a southern beer, so probably not necessarily a sparkler beer, but of course I think of myself as being in the north. I'm sure many would disagree, but I always use a sparkler here, and I love the tight creamy head that it forms. It's got almost a sheen to it, hasn't it? Because it's so frothy and creamy. Now it's come out quite bitter, this beer, and actually having edited the footage of the tour of Donington, I realised that what I should have done is put all my hops in the whirlpool. In their case, they put them all in the hop back, or at least that's what I think I gleaned from re-watching the footage. So a little bit strange for an old-fashioned brewery to not put any hops in at the start. If I brewed it again, I think I'd just put a token amount in at the start just to stop a boil over, and then I'll just try them all in the whirlpool, but at knockout temperature, and leave it a good hour, because he said he had to go and walk his dog and have a sandwich, didn't he? So it's probably a bit more bitter than the real thing. Unfortunately, I haven't got one to compare it to. Colour's amazing, isn't it? From the Otter and the Carapils. Can I taste the invert sugar? I don't know. Does it add a certain sort of light toffiness to it? Possibly. I'm not sure if I'm a good enough beer taster to actually say that. I suppose if I brewed one without and one with and put them side by side, we could compare. So it's quite bitter. It's not really that aromatic because that's all the hops are in at the start. So I think if we did try it again, put all the hops in the whirlpool, then it would be quite a different beer. It would probably be a little bit lighter, a bit more floral, but a little bit less firm bitterness and a little bit sort of, if you like, more approachable bitterness. Having said that, everybody neighbour-wise that's come in has said they really like it, so still a nice beer. Decent first attempt. It's a lovely glass, by the way, from Donnington Brewery itself. It's not very often you get a cask glass with a thing at the bottom, agitator at the bottom of the glass, and I thought it would be a silly idea, but in fact it's quite good for keeping the head looking nice. So yeah, really pleased with how this beer's turned out. I'll definitely do it again. The Hook Norton yeast is amazing, by the way. It drops bright in no time. This was ready to drink 3 days, 4 days after casking, something like that. This is a really nice beer. It was a great day when we toured the brewery one-on-one with Phil, and he answered all our questions, and we had a nice half an hour in the tasting cellar with him and his colleagues as well, even if I was just on the pale ale. So yeah, this was a great brewery to visit, great beer to have a go at. I mean, you can't really go wrong with a Golden 4% beer, can you? You know, it's those of you that watch regularly know it's one of my favourite styles. I've reused the yeast again since this beer, and I've actually tried to brew a Bass on it, so that'll be interesting. It absolutely overflowed everywhere. The yeast was really fecund and active, but it's done a good job of this beer, and it's done a good job of the Hook Norton beers as well. So I hope I can keep the culture going I'll need to make a couple of slopes, I think, to keep it for the longer term. Jamal and I really enjoyed the tour around the brewery. A beautiful building, beautiful bit of heritage with the water wheel, and lovely people as well. So thank you to Donnington Brewery for showing us around and making us so warmly welcome. And I've enjoyed having a go at the beer. And so let us know in the comments what you think of this beer, of that brewery, and keep an eye on the channel. Make sure you subscribe, because there's a load of stuff coming up from the tour, the 1,000-mile tour of Great Britain with Jamal. So lots of interesting content to come. And for the meantime, I'll just say, frothy nail. See you next time. Cheers.